Illegal, unreported, or unregulated fishing in the Mediterranean. Illegal, unreported, or unregulated fishing are recognized by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, poses a direct and significant threat to effective conservation and management of many fish stocks, causing multiple adverse consequences for fisheries and for the people who depend on them in the pursuit of their legitimate livelihoods. It happens from coastal areas to high seas and involves many different fisheries. This phenomenon is increasing in response to the unprecedented crisis of overfishing that we are facing. At the moment, it is estimated that 85% of all stocks that are commercial have reached their biological limit or beyond due to overfishing. It is a global and international issue that can become exacerbated in particular regions due to specific characteristics. One of such areas is the Mediterranean Sea. Mediterranean sea waters are enclosed by land, which delays the time its water need to clean and renew themselves. This time is considered to be at least 100 years. This means that it is difficult to recover from pollution, damage, or exploitation. The Mediterranean Sea provides many ecosystem services. It is a primary source of economic benefits, food, jobs. It provides nutrient cycling, recreation, inspiration, habitat, climate regulation, etc. Without a healthy sea, which fish population thriving, these services cannot take place. What is the current situation? It is considered that illegal, unreported, or unregulated fishing costs countries from $2 to $15 billion in economic losses annually, and the Mediterranean is already overfished. Official bodies like the European Environmental Agency and the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization admit that more than 65% of all fish stocks in the region are endangered. The negative environmental impacts involve the depletion of fish stocks, damage to coral reefs, and stress on marine mammals and birds. Social and economic impacts are severe as well. Such impacts can only be prevented creating protected areas in the Mediterranean Sea that allow to regenerate fish stocks. However, barely 1% of the Mediterranean Sea is fully protected. In addition, illegal fishing uses drift nets, which causes large bycatch of non-target species. Despite it being a crime to run illegal, unreported, or unregulated fishing fleet, France has admitted to operating between 45 and 75 vessels. It is not the only one in the Mediterranean. Other fleets include the Turkish fleet, of 45 to 100 vessels, 90 to 100 Italian vessels, and a Moroccan fleet of over 300 drift netting vessels. Various drivers are involved in illegal, unreported, or unregulated fishing. Organized crime groups, commercial fishers, public corruption, high value of some species, lack of convenience, known as the FOC system of vessel registration, and the shared nature of their resources. What has been the international, regional, and national response? A broad range of institutional, public, and private responses have generated limited success in eliminating illegal, unreported, or unregulated fishing. Among the international tools, there are the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, the UN Fish Stocks Agreement, the Convention on Biological Diversity, or the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species. At the regional and the national level, there are several legislation, the EU regulations, national law, and the National Plan of Action to Prevent, Deter, and Eliminate Illegal, Unreported, and Unregulated Fishing on the High Seas, which is the national implementation of the most important tool to fight illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, the FAO International Plan of Action that calls on all stakeholders involved to take action. In addition, many NGOs, like Greenpeace, have called for the immediate closure of the Mediterranean bluefin tuna fishery until it can be properly managed and the adoption of urgent measures, including the establishment of a network of marine reserves to protect 40% of the Mediterranean Sea and regenerate its fish stock. But why compliance of the existing tools is not working? Three of the main reasons are low selectivity of currently used mesh sizes, market demand for undersized fish, and the low control and enforcement effort. These are the recommendations suggested here. As mentioned, only 1% of the Mediterranean Sea is protected against destructive activities and fishing. Scientific studies recommend to protect between 20% to 50% of the Mediterranean Sea to retain productivity and halt overexploitation and degradation. Comprehensive policy schemes are proposed to achieve the objective of sustainable management of the valuable resource from the Mediterranean Sea. Some of the best practices that will maximize the potential for the development of large-scale marine conservation initiatives are using surrogates to fill the many biodiversity data gaps in the Mediterranean region, improve and facilitate the development of consistent and open access databases, use technological developments to improve monitoring, research, and surveillance of less accessible and underexplored marine areas. Integrate Mediterranean-wide and local conservation efforts. Facilitate transborder collaboration and cooperation in the Mediterranean region. And finally, establish a regional fund mechanism for conservation that will further enhance opportunities for marine conservation in this region. Sustainable management, including the establishment of ocean sanctuaries, needs to be urgently implemented to avoid exploitation beyond the Mediterranean natural ability to replenish and recover. These are the marine sanctuaries proposed by Greenpeace to protect 40% of the Mediterranean. It seems reasonable to conclude that there is much work to be done, and we might have difficult and challenging paths ahead of us. And we should be realistic and acknowledge that establishing the ocean sanctuaries needed might take a long time. But we have the responsibility to reach a consensus among countries to conserve the Mediterranean Sea, and do so before we reach the tipping point.